Hi there. I'm Jeannie Ralston. It's great to see you. I'm here with Johanne McInnis. She is our Scotland expert and such a fun trip leader. And she's going to go through, we have all kinds of great things to show you about our trip in 2025 to Scotland. And Joe's going to talk us through it. And you'll see what we're going to do and all the people we're going to meet. So I'm going to just start off. Joe, can you say hi?
Hello, Gail and Marcy and Jeannie.
And everybody else that's watching.
Everybody else.
So we're so glad to have you. So I'm going to share my screen so you can see the presentation of what we'll be doing next year. Just give me a moment. This was my weakest spot is making this transition to the yes, there I go. So here's our extraordinary women-only tour of the Scottish Highlands. And we say extraordinary because we didn't say that last year. I mean, this past June was our first trip there, but it proved to be extraordinary. I mean, I just had no other word for it. So I said, I'm just going to call it extraordinary because it was, people have been going to Scotland, for ages as their vacation spot. But there was something about it was magical the way that all of us came together. We had 12 of us on the tour, and we just bonded so beautifully. And Joe's inside knowledge of the country, her contacts, we got such special insider moments, meeting local women, somebody saw that you were in Scotland, they saw your Instagram, and they own this beautiful distillery and invited us to come. It was just one thing after another, like magic doors opening for us. And so it was just that's why I use that word as extraordinary. And Scotland's pretty extraordinary on its own, but we had an extra layer of it. And so, Joe, I'm going to let you take over from here, and I'll add in some things. But you can tell us about your background in why Scotland is so meaningful to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeannie. So I grew up with a Scottish great grandmother, and a lot of the family on that side of the family spoke proper Gaelic, not even Gaelic, Gaelic. And so I was always surrounded by Scottish roots, Scottish stories, Scottish music, and a lot of Scottish food, which I'll talk about in a little bit later. And then in 2004, I had my first adventure where I started going to Scotland, and I've never looked back. There is something absolutely magical about that country, and I've visited other countries, but Scotland is pretty much the only one that draws me back year after year. And whether it be something in the DNA of my existence, or may it be the people, the places, the things that we do, the things that we see, it's probably never going to stop. I think I'll forever want to be in Scotland, and as try as I may and hope that I get proposed to one day. It's never happened, so I still haven't found my Jamie or my Scotsman yet. Um, so in those 20 years that I've been traveling to Scotland, I have not gone through every single inch of Scotland, but I have traveled to every single region, from the borderlands all the way up to the islands of Scapa and the Hebrides, the Outer Hebrides, all of the little islands on the west coast, and all the beautiful everything, the villages in the center, the cities. So I've really developed a passion for people. I tend to sit with the locals. I tend to make contacts. I tend to make a lot of friends very quickly. And it's really created this fantastic trail through Scotland where I just know the locals. I know the hiking trails. I know where to go get a really great haggis sandwich or a delicious salad, or a walk along a bridge and a beautiful river. So I think that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I don't take myself overly seriously, but at the same time, I tend to turn into Rain Man every once in a while, as Jeannie can attest, when we would be driving by somewhere and I start to spew off a little bit of the history of a local abbey or a river, or why, the Highland Cows, not Highland Cows, Highland Cows are such a fantastic thing to be able to experience when you go to Scotland. So I think I'll stop there for now because there's way more to discuss.
Well, and we start in Edinburgh. And I love that hotel we stayed at.
Oh,
It's beautiful.
yes, yes, absolutely stunning. Within walking distance of just about everything. It was a great place to really wind down at the end of the night. The service was fantastic. The hotel is beautiful. So historic. It was a great find.
And then so we'll start off, we'll have 2 days to explore Edinburgh. And one of the things, the picture I left is at the top of Arthur's Seat, which is one of my favorite things to do in Edinburgh. What are your favorites, Joe?
I think, from my perspective, I'm a bit of a geek, so I do love the historical aspect of Old Edinburgh. I love, wandering down, which is one of the pictures of the ladies on the very bottom. It's one of the streets that leads up to the Edinburgh Castle, and there's just so many beautiful things. Arthur's Seat is probably something I try to do every time I'm there, if I'm not too exhausted from all the walking. But it is such a great overview of so many different places you can see, as far as Newcastle on upon Tyne, and in a really, on a great, beautiful day. So it sits really high, hence the name Arthur's Seat, but it's not a difficult hike. You just have to take your time, and it always proves to be a great part of the Edinburgh experience. And I mean, the monuments, the history, the gin distilleries. I could go on and on and on about all the different things that you can see and do. The food, the restaurants, the quality of the restaurants that are in Edinburgh are just phenomenal. And yeah,
I remember
everything.
a lot of people, and I know that the photo of the street at the bottom of with the colorful buildings, that was an inspiration for Diagon Alley, right?
Yes, it was Harry Potter.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot of Harry Potter resource or links in Edinburgh. And I know some of our women did a Harry Potter tour of Edinburgh. So
Yes, they did.
that's always a great thing. And another great thing that we'll be doing, I mean, I always say that on every next tribe trip, there has to be dancing. So, and this time in Scotland, we'll do the traditional dancing, the Kayla, which, the way it's spelled Cilidh, I would never get that pronunciation. I mean, I've never, without your help, Joe, but we had such a good time dancing, and it was really bonding, because we just all, remember, we were all learning the dances, and we were flubbing up and laughing, and it's just such a good time.
Absolutely. Traditional Kaylee is something that I grew up doing as a child every Friday night. And it is truly like it's a community experience. So in this particular one, the everybody, nobody knew anybody type of thing, and we just sort of all arrived, and the next thing you know, you're linking arms with somebody from Nebraska or somebody from France, and you're hooping and hollering. And I don't think there wasn't a single one of us where we looked at all our pictures, and it's like we're all laughing, like just our we're so enamored and having so much fun. And it was a night to remember for me as far as our last trip.
Oh gosh, absolutely. And then we go off into the beautiful, take our drive up to the Highlands, and the Murdochs. I love that. There's the Murdochs and the Bens, right? There's the different,
Correct.
which one's higher?
The
Murdochs?
bends are higher.
Okay.
Yes.
So we take a beautiful route from Edinburgh up along to Drumnadrochit, but so we'll make some stops like this there's a Three Sisters area, and just so much beautiful scenery along that way, right?
Yes, I think when we were driving through, we have an expert driver, by the way. I hope we have the same guy because
We
he was just
do,
phenomenal. We have
Dougie.
Dougie, awesome. And it really was helpful because he, we would just be driving through and we would see something and we would yell, stop, stop, stop. And he would expertly stop and allow us to take photos and, visit some of the locks or stand. He actually brought us to a couple of little secret places on his own where he was just like, here, we're going to stop here. And this will be a really great place to take photos, which was the Three Sisters. And
Yeah.
so going through the Highlands is an experience that's unforgettable. Unforgettable? Unforgettable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to think there for a second. I often liken it to trying to explain to someone when I've been to the Grand Canyon. It's like it doesn't matter how beautiful the pictures are. There's just nothing unlike you just have to be there and experience it for yourself when you go through the Highlands.
Yes, and even, we get some of that Scottish mist, and that just
Oh,
added some, layer of mystery and beauty. So that was really fun. And then one of the stops on the drive, which is what everybody was so excited about, was the Harry Potter train. We don't ride the train, but we go and have a view. And I love that you hadn't been there because of COVID for a couple of years, and you had thought we were going to be hiking to see this aqueduct, which is a very famous aqueduct from the Harry Potter movies, but that the Hogwarts Express runs on. But they've made so many changes. There was actually like this area with a viewing point, a cafe, a store. Remember that? And we had lunch
yes,
there. And
yes.
all of our Harry Potter fans were just beside themselves.
Absolutely. It's probably one of my funnier stories. So I'm very protective of the ladies that travel with me, and I tend to call them my little chickens or my little hens. And I remember when we arrived at the Glenfinnan, this is called the Glenfinnan Viaduct, like everybody got off the bus, and they scattered, and we didn't know where anyone was for about 5 minutes because the Harry Potter fans were just so excited to actually be able to see this beautiful, beautiful viaduct. And again, the picture is gorgeous, but when you're standing right beside it or when you get to hike to it, it's just a phenomenal experience. It truly is magical.
Yep. And then we go to Drumnadrocket, which is right on Loch Ness. And I promise this Loch Ness Inn, it was, a lot of people said it was one of their favorite, or was their favorite. It's just this little inn in this little town, and it's beautiful food there. And they remember they had the bar, and there was Scotland was playing in the Euro Cup, and we all joined in at the bar. It was just a lovely, lovely spot.
Yeah, this was a really big surprise. I think for me especially because I've been to Drumnadrocket almost every year that I go, but I had never stayed at the Loch Ness Inn. I had drove by it or I'd heard of it, but I was my bedmate was Donna, and when we arrived, like we just kept saying, "Wow, wow, wow." And for me, it was the best meal too of
Yeah.
the whole trip. Like we ate well, we danced in the pub. I
Yeah.
I had a drink bought by one of the locals, which I thought was pretty cool
Yes.
myself. And we had a blast. We watched the soccer match. We had such a great time. And I think it was probably one of the nights where I slept the best because I had the window open that particular evening. There was a beautiful breeze coming through.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one, when I was watching the presentation earlier, it was like reliving the trip, and I was just like, oh, like, yes. Like, so
Remember this place?
I do.
It's
That
just
was a
like
highlight.
it is just a little like a dream of an inn that, in a tiny Scottish town. It was so
Yeah.
sweet.
So
And
unassuming, but gave so much.
yeah, and definitely you have to get out on Loch Ness, and right there at the bottom, that's what we saw, guys. We saw that. No.
We're pretty sure we saw Nessie. We're pretty sure. Yeah.
So, and the cool part is Urquhart Castle is right there on Loch Ness, which is fabulous castle. We this year last year we went, or last trip we went to two castles. This time we're just going to this castle, and it's such a great castle. You could spend your whole trip
Hey,
in Scotland going to castles.
yes.
We picked, I
Yeah.
think, the one that's most scenic, with the background with the lake, and just some of it's in ruins, some of it is sort of intact where you can see how people lived. And I think it was really just so evocative of the history of Scotland.
Absolutely. It's actually one of the oldest Scottish castles that still I don't want to say it's a ruin, but again, when you look at the tower on the left side of the photo, you can actually go up and walk around in that area. My biggest takeaway is I definitely know I'm Scottish because everybody was only 5'2" back then because I fit in everything, so it was really cool. But for me, I really wish we would have spent a little more time there. So I'm hoping like this on this particular tour, we'll have the opportunity to spend a little bit more time because again, everybody was just so happy to be there. And not that I felt rushed by any means, but it was like, it was a great castle to
Yeah.
really, really, and the sun came out that day and it was just phenomenal. Again,
And I
phenomenal.
we spend 2 nights in Drumnadrocket, so it's a little more time for that.
Good.
But so one of my favorite additions for this coming year for 2025 is, and I just realized, it's Highland Coos. I put Highland Coos. This is how I it's
Heel,
Heelan.
like a heel
Like,
on your shoe. The
okay,
Heelan
well,
Coos.
so anyway, Highland Cows in Scotland is pronounced Highland Coos, and they became our obsession. I mean, look how adorable they are. They are just the cutest things in the world. And we were like, and Dougie, our bus driver, was in on the hunt. He was like, we'd be driving down country lanes, like, instead of getting on main roads, we go on smaller roads where we might be able to see them. And we were on the hunt and jumped out. At one point, we saw them. I climbed over a fence once, which is not advisable. I got told many times that was so dangerous. But anyway, but this time we have gonna have tea at this farm in Drumnadrocket where they have Highland Coos. So we will be able to pet them and just love on them. I'm so excited about that addition. So we'll still be on the hunt, but we'll get a really good Highland Coo fix.
Oh my gosh, there's nothing more beautiful, especially if we get to see babies. Like the baby ones are just you literally lose your mind. Like they're just the sweetest little things, and the big pink noses, or they're just amazing. I there's every time I didn't this trip because I've got enough of them now, but I usually buy stuffies, and I
Oh yeah.
probably have about 10 of them at this point. But I love Heelan Coos. They're just amazing.
I know. I don't even, I just think anybody who's like any distillery, I told one of the distilleries, I was like, you should just get some Heelan Coos out there and put them out there and that'll draw everybody in. But I mean, I don't know if they use them for any kind of, they must for meat or dairy or whatever, but as yard art, they are primo.
So beautiful.
And then I don't know if anybody's an Outlander fan, but we it was so funny. We went to Inverness and then we went to Culloden, and where a lot of people go. And Joe, you were so funny about, okay, Culloden here, just saw it. Now here's where we really want to go. So this is you took us here, Joe.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you're a history buff, I have had in the past people that wanted to go to the where the Battle of Culloden had taken place, and there's a wonderful tour there. And but I mean, maybe it's because I've done it a few times and I know my history and I've seen it. But um, I also know that a lot of people are big Outlander fans, and so I knew of the spot where the movie part of this particular part right here was filmed when she touches the stone and she falls back into the historical part of the show, so and the books. And so sure enough, I kind of had talked to a few people in our group and I was like, is anybody an Outlander fan? And of course, hands shot up right away and it was like, yes. So I gave Dougie the coordinates and away we went. We ended up here and we probably spent what, an hour? I
Yeah,
would say a close hour.
it was just amazing. And
Yeah,
what I think is funny is most people did the pose for a photo like me with my hands, like as if I were Claire about to go through. But Joe, you took the other tack. You're like,
I did.
I just fell through. I came in, I just came into the new time era. So
Absolutely. And that'll speak a little bit to my quirkiness. To me, this is be yourself, and this is who I am. I'm all for taking the beautiful shots of, Jeannie looks perfect up against the thing, but I was like, heck no, I'm going back. I'm like, I got the power of the stone and I fell on my back, and I was never did find Jamie though.
No, we
No.
looked, and I did like, but I did like there was there was, they really used that Jamie thing. There was a store that had a picture of him and said, gorgeous Jamie from Outlander, and it says, "Some like it, Scott." And so then we end up in the Speyside area, which really in the Highlands in this is Craigellachie, the Hotel Craigellachie, which is, I think, Condé Nast, either Vogue or Condé Nast Traveler, now I can't remember, called it the best whiskey hotel in the world. And we're not on a whiskey tour, but it gives you that sense of what it is. It's like an old fashioned inn in the middle of this beautiful countryside. And it's just so warm and comfortable place. I just loved it.
Oh, absolutely. It's another one of those I'll say hidden gems that unless you're in the know, like a lot of people wouldn't necessarily uh they would look at it and go, it looks nice, but then when you actually experience it, again, the food and the quality of the service, what I really liked about it is how spaced out everything is. There's little rooms and little nooks and gardens and trails that lead down to the bridge, and it's absolutely like it's probably where I felt the most relaxed, because I think we were there for 3 nights, if I remember properly, for last year's trip.
Yes.
Yeah, so I really felt relaxed and I felt in my element, because it is one of my favorite areas of Scotland.
And it's on the Spey River. That's
Literally, yes.
and there's hiking
Literally.
trails and everything. And that's what we did. One of the things is, the picture on the top here is us hiking, and that's after dinner, because remember, the sun goes down really late. So after dinner, we took a gorgeous hike along the river, and there's plenty of time while we're staying there for hiking and just seeing the beauty of the area. But we also wanted to bring attention. We do some whiskey related stuff. And then we want to talk about the food, because everybody thinks the food's going to be haggis, but Joe, you can tell them that we ate like queens.
We did. That's, I think, one of the things that's to my advantage is having been raised in the Scottish ways, not necessarily just potatoes, neeps, and haggis, which is tatties, neeps, and haggis. But over the 20 years that I've been there, I'm also a foodie. Like, I really love food and I love good food. So I've always made it a point to seek and search out areas where they do really offer local fare that is absolutely delicious, traditional, not deep fried Mars bars or anything bizarre that you might find in some of the areas. But I mean, we did eat extremely well, almost, I would say every day. Every day we ate extremely well,
Yeah.
extremely well. And just so that I can mention too, the picture on the bridge that was taken at 9:30 at night, and the sun was still out. Like, the sun sets at about 10 o'clock in June in Scotland, especially way up in the Highlands. So it makes for beautiful long days.
Yeah, and gorgeous um photos, and with that kind of dusky time.
Yes.
Um, so let's see here. This is probably one of the my favorite things about this trip was all the local women we got to meet, and that's because of Joe's friendships there. She has, in her years working in whiskey as a whiskey lassie, she's met so many people and has she brought them all together for us. And one, like, on the, well, you can tell us who we're seeing here, Joe.
Absolutely. So, one of the things that I'm a big advocate for is women doing their own thing, or women, women CEOs, women running their companies, women helping other women is another big thing that I'm an advocate for. And so, what I really loved about this particular trip is the fact that when I mentioned that I was bringing a tour of women to Scotland, I immediately had a few of my friends say, listen, we should do something. We should have a get together. We should have, a big to do, as they would say in the Scottish Highlands. And so two young entrepreneurs, the Murray sisters, who run a hotel, a family run hotel, decided that they would hold a big reception for us, and we invited women that, again, own their own companies, or women that you know, are there for other women that are helping, that have won awards, that are part of their community, that really are advocates for whatever they are doing in their realm of work. And so there was Sarah Burgess, who is one of the best, and she's not on the call, but if this is recorded, I'm going to send her that I said this. She's one of the best whiskey makers in Scotland. She is amazing. She is well spoken. She is a mom of two beautiful children, and she knows her stuff. And I absolutely adore her. She gives back. Um, she was emotional during the evening because our stories were just so wonderful. A lot of us got up and spoke about our personal experiences in this particular reception. And we have Ann Miller, who has been the backbone of the Speyside area in many different aspects of her life from the time she was young. She runs her own farm, she has her own company. She was one of the first women to start her own business in the Speyside area a long time ago. I won't say how far back. And then we had the next generation. We had Helen, and oh my God, I've completely drawn a blank. Other than her company name is B is for brand.
Oh,
And
yeah, she's in marketing, yeah, but,
yes,
which was great.
it's not Ella. The name
But
escapes me. I'm so sorry.
well, the thing that was so great too is like we went to Ann Miller's farm here on where it's just the two of us in her beautiful stone. We went to her farm and she talked about women and their history in the culture of whiskey, and you know how what the impact women have made. But then we go to the hotel, the what was the name of the hotel? Not the Down. It's not the Downs. It's the 18.
The 1821.
Yes, so we went and had the reception with the two sisters, and we had wine tasting, we had beautiful hors d'oeuvres. So it was like, again, the whole food thing. It was these were, this is something
Oh,
that could have been on, you know, the Bear, you know, the way that they made these hors d'oeuvres, and so we had such a, and it was so emotional.
yes.
And it was just, and it inspired, they said they wanted to start a Next Tribe chapter there because they loved that we came together like this and we could also be supportive of each other. And we felt like, I mean, we left there, all of us felt like, oh, we now have friends in Scotland. We could like call them up, and for next time we're in Scotland, or if they're visiting the US. I mean, that was just the how quickly we bonded with these great women. So,
Yes.
and let me see what else we've got. Oh, so this is another thing we're adding for this coming year, 2025, is we didn't do it last year, but we found when on this trip, we found this sheepdog farm, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, between Highland Cows and sheepdogs and whiskey and great women, you know, how good can it get? So we will definitely be doing that as well on our way at the end, towards the end of our trip. And we end our trip in back in Edinburgh. So let me see if I have anything else. Oh, so Joe, would you add anything else about like overall what you feel about the beauty of this trip?
I think for me, from my personal experience was uh the bonding that took place. You know, I know for a fact that a couple of the women on the trip quickly became friends, and I think they're literally best friends, inseparable now, and they had never met each other prior to this trip. And you know, we spent a lot of time with each other. Like there wasn't, I think I know personally, I sat down with every single person at some point in the trip and got to know them. And you know, it was such a great experience that I don't think, not that I don't love men, but I don't think we'd have the same vibe, you know, if we had a guy. I mean, we had Dougie and he was phenomenal, but he was one of the girls after a while. It was great. So you know, it's about the experience that I took away from it is Scotland's amazing, but the group itself was just, you know, so not perfect. That's not the right word. I still have a hard time saying how I felt about it because I came home and it took me a couple of weeks to digest
Yeah.
how phenomenal it really was. You know, it doesn't matter how many times I've been to Scotland, like the experience of going with a bunch of women who were outgoing and happy and crazy like I was, and a couple of I'll point at Jeannie specifically, but you know, it was just such a great trip. It really was.
And we actually have somebody joining us who was on the trip, Janice Dudney. Can you tell us a little bit about, what you felt about the trip, how it, what you expected to experience on the trip, and then what you did end up,
I guess, of course, Scotland was a bucket list thing, very similar to a lot of people. They, I want to go to Scotland, I want to go to Ireland. There's all that. It was a precious trip from the very moment we started. The very first day, we sat at our little meet and greet in our hotel in Glasgow and introducing ourselves, becoming aware of who was around the table and how different we all were. But we then left there, went and got some dinner, walked around beautiful Glasgow. And honestly, it just felt like, I didn't know a lot of these women, but if I could have handpicked them after the fact, I would have. And the time on the bus, the camaraderie, how quickly, as Joanne said, how quickly we just figured out that we could laugh, we could joke, we could make, in a good way, make fun of each other. It was so much, it was so relaxing. And you always hope, I guess, that when you're set in a new situation, in a new place like that, where you don't know anybody, that it's going to go well. There are some jitters. I for one had not traveled since before COVID. I had not been overseas in a long time. So I was really nervous about the whole process, but it was landed, and then got started, and I hated for it to end. I truly do. And looking at the sheepdog demonstration, I want to go back.
Yeah, you're like, wait a second. How come we?
I will say, I believe I was the first one to spot a Highland Cow.
Okay.
But it was and Dougie, I don't know how much you've talked about Dougie, but he was amazing. He really was.
Our bus driver, which I promptly booked him again. So yeah, he's
Amy, if you hadn't booked him, then find it the week that he can do it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Organize your trip around him. He wasn't even at the very end when there was a heartbeat of a moment where we thought we had a mix up with our hotels. He was not going to leave us until he got us all situated and where we were supposed to be. So, and the Scottish people are amazing. They are amazing. They really are. Just open and generous, and you felt like they genuinely were glad you were in their country, and glad that you were spending time getting to know them, and all that.
And also, I didn't have a picture from when we, I don't know why, but when one of Joe's friends, Jackie, actually invited us to her home and made us these gorgeous soups with bread, and there's sheep outside her window, and just, it was over the top. It was just, and I've always felt like if, you can travel, and next try we obviously take you to some fun places, but it's a part of my mission is to connect us to women in these destinations where we go, because it deepens your feelings to that, for that location, but also you experience it in a different way, more authentic way. So and it was because of Joe's all the women she knows, all the people she knows, that enabled us to do that in Scotland. So Janice, thank you so much for joining us.
I've got grandbabies I got to go help with. So
okay, you go. Thank you.
Good to see you, Joe.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. So I was going to see if Gail and Penny and Priya, if you had any questions or for us about the trip.
Yeah.
You can tell us about yourself too.
Oh, are there midges then?
Well, midges. Honestly,
Oh.
I really thought we were gonna have some and we did not. And I was so happy because that was one of my concerns, was that we would have midges in the Highlands and there was zero.
Oh, that's right, the flies.
Yes,
And I do remember when we first planned the trip, you said mid-June, you said, before the end of June, because the midges come best, definitely in July and August, but you
they
felt
do.
we were early enough in June to miss them. And
Correct.
we did miss them. So that's again why we chose the same date, the same times for 2025.
Is there a lot of, it sounds like you get out a lot, so you're not just sitting, you get to walk and take hikes and get out and do stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, yes, we love it, and people want to hike around because, or there is walking, obviously because when we're going around Edinburgh, but then also when we're in Speyside, we're staying at a place with beautiful hiking trails along the Spey River, so we do some hiking there.
And in the Highlands, we did do a little bit of walking. I would say it's more walking than hiking. Like I try not to bring anybody climbing any of the bends by any means, because I have done that as well. But yeah, we do a lot of walking. I think on average I was clocking when the days that we were out walking, I was clocking about 12,000 steps.
Okay.
That's a good
Yeah.
good to know.
Yeah.
Gail, where are you from?
I live in Florida.
Oh, great. And have you been to Scotland?
No, I've always wanted to go. If we trace the family tree back, we're there in the 1400s. We're in Scotland and Ireland, so it's a toss-up. I want to go to both places. Can't make up my mind. Can I do both?
Well, you can, because we do have
Yes.
I've looked at it.
well, we'd be glad to have you on either one, and this Scotland trip is so fabulous.
Or both.
Yeah,
Or both, exactly.
or both, absolutely. But
Yeah.
we would definitely, it's a kind of trip that I want to do every year because I just loved it so much.
And I'm like the lady before. I haven't traveled really since before COVID, and I haven't been across the pond since 1970s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That was Berlin and London. So
It is time to get those.
It is time.
Priya and Penny, any questions about the trip? I'm just checking. I know they're listening in, but I just wanted to see. So if there's any kind of questions, you can be in touch with Marcy. Can you introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Marcy. I'm the travel manager. My email is really easy, travel@nexttribe.com. And I, of course, like every session I go to now, I want to go on this trip too. So add this to the list. It's amazing.
Yes.
Yes, it really is.
So
So
yeah, I can help you with any questions or logistics, or if you need help booking or anything like that.
okay, and I said I was this is gonna be the most old-fashioned way. I have names of the people on this call. And hold on, I'm in a different house because I'm from Asheville, so I had to leave, and I don't have hold on one second. I will get something to draw from.
So did you make out okay with the hurricane, Gail?
yeah, I'm over by the Space Coast.
Oh, good.
So we just had a 50-mile-an-hour wind. Nothing like the Gulf Coast,
No, my gosh, that was just crazy.
and nothing
And
like North Carolina either.
It's
That's
Yeah.
crazy that, here we are so far inland and everyone's like, oh, well, we're gonna be okay, and just did not expect this kind of thing. So, okay, so one of you is gonna get a $400 discount on the trip. I'm looking, I can't see anything I'm drawing. Let's see who gets it. Penny. Penny.
Hi, can you hear me?
I don't know if you can hear me, Penny. I drew your name.
I do hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, but I
Yes,
don't
we
see you.
can.
I just see
Okay.
red.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's
So,
wonderful.
so you got a $400 discount. on the trip, if you sign up by October 15th and
Okay.
that $400. And what you'll do is you'll just sign up, put down the deposit, and then Marcy will adjust the total you owe. Because we do have the great thing about our payment platform is you can pay monthly, and there's at no interest, no anything. It just breaks all your payments up in monthly chunks. And so she'll just adjust your balance. But also Priya and Gail, if you sign up by October 15th, I'll give you $100 off because you were here. And
Yay.
also, and that's on top of if you're a member. I know Priya is a lifetime member, so that's, you get $100 off for being a member, and Gail and Priya will get an extra 100 off for coming. Penny, you're a member, I'm quite sure, and so you'll get
Yes.
$100 off plus the 400. So
Sweet.
so sign
Great
up.
incentive. I will. It sounds so fun.
So much fun. And Joe, you are just like the supreme fun, warm, caring, organized guy. That's what I was gonna, I learned so much from Joe, because she is so much fun. And you don't think that somebody who's that loose and just goes with the flow can be as organized as she is. She's so organized too. So
Color-coded spreadsheet. Dougie was never
Yeah.
happier. Yes.
I know.
Yes.
Marcy and I were like, so you're the best person for doing this.
Thank
So
you.
anyway, well, I hope to see your names coming through as signups, and Marcy will adjust. And as Marcy said, if you have questions, you can ask her at travel@nexttribe.com.
Okay.
So, thank you, everybody.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice
Thank you.
meeting you all. Thanks,
Thanks.
Joe. Thank Marcy.
I'm
Bye.
glad you did well.
Thank you. Oh, thanks. Thank you.